This is Robbie McKenzie, Youth Ministry 6.3. Have a treat with you today. I have Craig Gross, who is leader of the xxxchurch.com. Craig and I talk a little bit about pornography. We talk about the struggles that youth ministries go through, be it students, be it parents, and even be it youth ministers themselves. Craig and his team have done a lot to help those who struggle with pornography. You may have heard the X3 Watch, the awesome software that checks your websites and emails, accountability reports to someone else. And I know you're going to be blessed today. And so just pass this along to anyone who needs it, and to many youth ministers, to many youth groups, to parents, because I know we all struggle, whether it be we struggle with a friend, we struggle ourselves, we struggle with someone in our youth group, someone at our church. It's just a worldwide struggle. So please watch this video, comment, share, and I look forward to engaging in dialogue with you. Thank you so much. This is Robbie McKenzie, Youth Ministry 6.3, which comes from Nehemiah 6.3. It says, "I am doing a great work and I cannot come down." I have with me Craig Gross. Craig is a leader at XXX Church, xxxchurch.com, and does a lot of help with those who struggle with pornography. And I first came in contact, at least in a different way with Craig, not so much at what I see online with him, but actually one of my students and we actually did your X3 Watch there, where we were engaged in accountability, and he, I was getting email reports from this site, and then I started looking more into it, and then checked him out a little bit, and so appreciate everything you do, Craig, and thank you so much for being on the show.
All right, thanks.
Kind of tell us a little bit the story, how XXX Church was started, and how it came about.
Yeah, before this, I was a youth pastor, and I mean, I didn't grow up around porn. I didn't grow up with access to it. I can count the number of times that I've actually seen it. So prior to starting the site, so we just saw so many kids in our youth group struggling with this. This was 10 years ago, but still, in the dial-up days of the internet, it was still accessible and far more than it was for me. And so we just kind of thought, how could we create a safe place online where people could get help and they could get the truth about this issue? And so that was the first idea, was just to help people, primarily young, kids and guys, gals that were struggling with this. So xxxchurch.com, we bought the domain, and then we just kind of looked at a blank screen and said, well, what do we do with this? We don't know how to build a website. We don't know how to, and not that youth pastors only know how to make T-shirts, but we knew how to make T-shirts. So we had a T-shirt for everything we ever did. So we made T-shirts before we ever had anything. And then just as the kind of few months kind of went by, and we decided to launch the actual website at the Adult Expo in Las Vegas, January of 2002. So, but yeah, the original idea just came from wanting to help kids.
That's awesome. Kind of tell us a little bit. You mentioned you were a formerly youth pastor, and I've seen on your website you do a lot with statistics. Kind of tell us a little bit about the epidemic that youth ministries face. And I know it's not just youth ministries, but in this context that we're speaking about, what epidemic is it that youth ministers and youth ministries face when it comes to pornography?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a bigger issue facing young people right now.
Right.
As far as, I mean, the numbers don't lie. They estimate kids between 13 and 18 are spending 70 hours a week in front of online media, and so you're going to run into this stuff. When, or not just online, some sort of media or technology. So with that, 90% of kids are going to see porn before they're 17. Average age someone sees this is 11. It's men, it's women. So nobody's really exempt or immune. And yeah, so I don't know other issues facing young kids. They're all online. They're all seeing this stuff. They're all connected via social networking and whatnot. And so everybody's going to run into this. And I think this dramatically changes your perception of sex. It's become your sex ed. Anything you want to know, you can kind of go online and figure out instead of talking to your parents about it or your youth pastor, you're finding it a lot of times through porn. And I think it's setting up a lot of young people for unrealistic expectations about sex, because sex in real life with your spouse, hopefully if you choose to go that way, is not going to match the sex that you've seen on porn. And so there's just this huge gap in between those two.
Absolutely. Something that I've enjoyed is your discussions with Ron Jeremy, the proclaimed porn king, and I've enjoyed watching each of those. And and maybe the word effective might not be the right term, but how, I guess in terms of awareness and I guess we can say effective, how effective have these debates and discussions been wherever you and Ron have gone in your discussions?
I mean, a big part of it is I can get invited to youth groups and conferences and churches. In the beginning, I couldn't even get invited to those places, but now most churches are open to talking about this. But to go to a college campus, to go to USC, to Ohio State, to have thousands of people come out to an event on a secular university, I'm not going to have that draw. So traveling with Ron, I think one of the effective kind of pieces of this whole thing is it's in front of his audience. I mean, they're his fans. They're people that have come to see him, get an autograph, hear what he has to say. But the only reason it's on a college campus is because there's some educational value in this. So that's where I kind of come along, and they have to listen to me. And so I think it's been very effective where I'm getting in front of audiences that I never could reach. And I don't think I'm changing everybody's perception of this, but I'm getting to speak the truth and on stage and say, hey, no, this is... I don't have an agenda. I've spent 10 years of my life dealing with people that have caught up in this. This is why I'm passionate about it. So, I hear kids after the debate that will say to me, oh, thanks. I'm still a fan of Ron, but you brought up some huge points, and so that's pretty much all I can do is just be able to share what I know and to share what I've seen over the last 10 years.
Absolutely, it's something that I think is great that you do. Why do you attend? I guess you alluded to back in 2002. You first attended. I forget what you worded it, but you attend these seminars where a lot of the porn industry is going to be at. Why do you attend these seminars and talk about XXX Church?
Yeah, it's when you're not. I wouldn't say competing, but we're taking on a $70 billion a year industry worldwide with a very small budget kind of behind us. So we're going to go wherever we can to kind of get this message out. Three things we try and do is raise awareness, prevent this stuff from happening to people, and then help people that are dealing with recovery. So one of the things that we've done for the last 10 years is we go to these porn, it's like imagine a car show or a youth pastor convention or, it's a trade show. And so every industry, there's an electronics show. I used to sell baseball cards, so I used to go to baseball card conventions. So, this happens to be an adult convention where there's products for sale that are all adult-oriented. There's every actor and actress that's in the business, promoters, producers, and distributors. And then everyone gathers around. They sell products. The stars sign autographs. There's even an award show at a lot of these. So we help people that are in this industry. So why we go is, I wouldn't take XXX Church to the car convention. Right. I would take it to the Adult Expo because this is kind of the one spot, I guess the one bright light is how I see it amongst this convention of saying, hey, look, we're not here to sell you products. We're not here to talk to you about anything else but the fact that, hey, we want to help you. And we hand out Bibles that say Jesus loves porn stars. We meet people in the industry that have said, hey, I want out. We've been able to journey with a lot of those people. So we go. Initially we went because we're like, wow, this would be a great launching pad. For the last 10 years, we've been to about 70 conventions since. And I think we go back because we get invited and we're not their enemy and they don't look at us as the bad guys. And so it's been a great opportunity to be able to just share with people.
That's super. This next question I have, when I first worded it, I think it's a little bit ridiculous because I was going to ask, have you ever received criticism? And I guess in any sort of leadership, if you're doing what God wants you to do, you're going to receive criticism. And so let me word it this way. How do you handle criticism? Because no doubt where you go, what you do, just the nature of talking about sex in general, which seems to be a little bit risky sometimes in some churches. How do you handle criticism and help people move towards opportunities where they need to talk about issues like that and issues of healing and redemption and reconciliation?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I feel like there's a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people that critique Jesus' ministry.
Sure.
And, we do that. Anything that doesn't look or sound like what we're used to, especially in the church, we're the first to go, oh, I can't believe they, I remember growing up in my church, I can't believe, they want drums in this church now. It was like, what? Like this is a non-issue for me, but for these people, it became a big issue. And so I think anytime there's change, and that's why I feel like the church sometimes is so reluctant to change, because we don't want to stand up for these things, or we don't want to face criticism. So for us, I mean, we launched at a porn show 10 years ago. We know we're going to have critics. We know, especially then when I've said some bold things like, I think if Jesus was here, these are the people that he would spend time with. Oh, no. You mean he wouldn't be at my church on Sunday? Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like he spent his time with people that were furthest from him. And so kind of two things I've learned is if you're on the sideline and you're not on the kind of the playing field, like, I mean, it's like me watching football on Sundays. Like, I can't play football. Look at me. I mean, I've never played. I can play on the Xbox. But so when I'm yelling at the TV or I'm saying, oh, the Packers, they should have done this on Sunday. Who am I? Because I don't play and I'm not coached by them. So I have besides just a fan, there's nothing like, they're not going to listen to me. And I feel like the criticism I get oftentimes is for people that have never, they hear something. Oh, I heard you did this. Or they don't know the whole story. And they're first to throw things at you, where I've tried to just ignore it. It's not, I wish I could say I've ignored it all, and I don't let it bother me. I don't let it stop us, but I do sometimes get caught up in like, well, why am I having this? Why am I even engaging you in this argument? Right. It's like, it's pointless. And so I've tried to only really take stuff seriously when, no, it's legit. Somebody's that I trust, that I've kind of, somebody on our, there's a guy on our board of directors that had called me one day, and he didn't like something we had done. And he had it opened my eyes to, wow, like, oh, I never saw it that way. You're a friend, you're on our board. And not only, I want your voice in my life, and I want to hear those things. Some stranger, I mean, I just got an email from a pastor that said, how dare you sell X3 watch on your site? I thought you want to help people, but you're trying to now profit. And I should just delete it, but I wrote him back and I said, how dare you take a paycheck from your church? Because it's like,
right.
Hey, we've given an X3 watch out to 1 million people. And yes, we have a pro version now that we just launched that has some text message alerts and has some amazing features that cost money. So, it's one of those things of like, if you really look at the whole story, we still have something. But, so to me, I should just delete those things and ignore. But, sometimes if it's valid, you just go, wow, and other times sometimes moms especially, and just because we've dealt with this, will send emails when they find out about our site or their kid came home with a T-shirt, like really kind of ticked off. Mm-hmm. But then when, and they'll send some email or whatever, but then like I've had the same mom send an email back literally a week later that says, my son, I saw what he was looking at and what he's dealing with, and now I really dove into what you're doing, and thank you. Sorry that because it doesn't maybe relate with everybody what we do, but then when you see the value in it, I think sometimes, people jump to conclusions way too quick.
Absolutely. Talk about, you mentioned a little bit X3 Watch. Talk about what you guys do there to help people who struggle with pornography.
A big issue that I believe we're trying to take on is this idea of accountability. And sure. My youth pastor kept me accountable when I was in 10th grade. And he showed me and my best friend how to keep each other accountable. And like we didn't have X3 Watch, and it wasn't just about porn, but we like checked in with each other. And it changed my life. Like that idea. I mean, I'm 30, will be 36 this week, and so I mean, I've been doing that with my same best friend since we were in 10th grade, and having that kind of depth and relationship. Well, I get into Triple X Church. I realize, well, what's missing here? People are keeping secrets. So fill in the blank with what you deal with. Maybe it's porn, sex, drugs, alcohol. If you let somebody else in your life and you talk about it, and what X3 Watch does, it just shoots off a report of any questionable sites that you look at. So, I mean, it would work really with anything, because all it is it's a reminder to a friend, a spouse, a parent, a pastor that says, hey, here's what I've been looking at. Give me a call. And I feel like if you can do that specifically about porn, you can do this about just about anything, because all these other conversations are so much easier. So that's what we've tried to do. It's not end porn. It doesn't stamp out this problem, but it connects people. And no piece of technology is going to be perfect or is going to be the ultimate answer. But I feel like, I mean, I get to meet people anywhere I go when I speak, and people say, hey, this changed my relationship with so-and-so because we're accountable now. And so I think that's the big message that we're kind of out there saying, hey, be accountable for this stuff.
That's awesome, Craig. Say I'm struggling with porn right now. What is the very first thing that you recommend that I do?
The first thing, hands down, I think you've got to confess and say, God, I need your help. And sometimes we're scared to do that. Sometimes we're embarrassed. Sometimes we think, well, I've done that before, but then I just keep on sinning. And it's not this, it's become this cycle of like sin, confess. And so I think like true repentance is this idea of really just giving up and saying, God, I know I truly need your help, because I can't, like, the Bible is clear. I mean, it says no other sins are like this when it talks about sexual sin. So, I mean, if you're in like 8th grade, or you're 18 or you're 58, you could all still, no other sins are like this. Like, what can I do? And this idea of crying out to God to say, hey, I need your help, because on my own, I'm just going to go back to this time and time again. So I think that's where it starts. And this idea of truly saying, God, I've tried it on my, Romans, Paul talks about, hey, I've tried everything and nothing works, but who's going to free me? And I think this idea of, hey, the answers can only be found in Christ. So it doesn't mean you're, never going to struggle. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but to know that you don't have to go about it on your own, I think is huge. And so that's where I'd start. And the second thing I do is, and hand in hand, I do both these. Not, oh, try this. And that's the thing, like, I don't know. I mean, we read so many books or we watch different things, and it's like, oh, I'll just do one of these things. No, like, do both. Talk to God, confess this to God, and then confess this to somebody else. And that's where I think we're not meant to do, this walk, this Christian life by ourselves. So that's why we're at church. That's why we have youth group. That's why we've got people around us. And so let them in on your struggles, because if you carry all this stuff on your own and then just expect, I mean, God's going to do what only God can do, but he's put you in relationships with people that I believe that care about you, that want to help you and want to see you succeed.
Absolutely. And lastly, say I'm a youth minister who has a lot of guys and I guess some girls as well who struggle with pornography. What do you recommend that I do to help not only the teenagers in the youth group, but also the parents as well?
Yeah, when I go back to like my junior or my high school days, I remember we talked about sex once a year, and it was just like, oh, it was in February, of course,
Right.
But and so to me, I think like, and that was cool, but yeah, that was 1991. So I think today in 2000, approaching 2012, that we've got to keep this conversation, not be the youth group that's just, oh gosh, all they do is talk about sex and porn. But like I said, I don't see bigger issues facing these kids right now. So it's like having this youth group to be this place where no, we're going to get real. We're going to be honest. We're going to talk about these things. We're going to get you tools. We're not going to, and if your parents have issues that we're talking about this, send them to me, because I'll talk to them. Inform their parents on why we're going there, what you can expect. Don't tell the parents, you're going to do all the work for them, because I think that's what's expected sometimes of church is like, oh, now I don't have to talk about this. Well, no, you need to. Heck, your parents need to have talked to their kids before they get into youth group. By that age, you know, they've seen this, they've experimented probably with this stuff. So, man, by 7th, 8th grade, by the time you get them, hopefully their parents, but reality is they haven't. The parents are in the dark. They haven't had these conversations. So I think, you know, not being shy about, hey, we're going to address these issues and we're going to try and help you guys and, you know, be a community that not only cares for you, but gets you some resources and gets you some help. So that'd be kind of my first thought. Don't do kind of, oh, well, no, once a year we cover it. And I love like when we go, it is, and maybe I'm just not a good speaker, I don't know. But I don't get invited back to a lot of churches on Sundays. Like youth groups is one thing, and I do a bunch of repeats on conferences, but when a church brings me in to do, oh, we're going to do a porn weekend or a porn Sunday, and we'll get emails, and we'll get we'll be told at least that this was a great weekend for our church. And the reason why I think I don't get invited back is because it's like we did it. Like we did porn weekend, and it's, well, no, like do it. Okay, that was like 4 years ago, and so you know this idea too, and not just because I need another gig at your church, but it's just this idea of we're still in this mindset of like, oh, check that off on the box, and it's like I think in youth ministry especially we can't do that. You know, as far as like, oh, we just yeah, we did this. So I'll get I'll send you. We're just releasing it with Group Publishing, just a 4-week curriculum that I've done with my friend Levi and a gal named Chris Clapp. That's a 4-week series that we're going to be promoting to churches. But I'll make sure I get you a copy of it so you can see that and your let people know about it.
That's awesome. Well, hang on, Craig. Thank you so much for being on this with me. This is another episode of Youth Ministry 6.3 with Craig Gross. Craig, thank you so much, buddy.
All right, thanks.